Hello my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're going to be talking about the 9070 XT from AMD, and we're going to be talking about the closest competitor, or what I think is going to be the closest competitor for these cards, which is probably going to be the 5070. So everybody starts getting pretty hyped up around this time of the generation, when we're about to get new cards, when we are waiting to find out what the new cards are. Lots of different hype, lots of different rumors, lots of just lots of so much, like it's crazy, like it gets crazy. So let's go off of some of the leaks that we've had and then kind of just look back across like other generations and kind of maybe gut check ourselves a little bit when it comes to these GPUs. Now, there's a lot of swirling rumors out there around the 9070 XT. Like, this thing's gonna have 16 gigs of RAM, it's gonna have 4080 super or 4080 power, or it's not, it's gonna be like 7900 GRE. There's just a lot of very inconsistent rumors when it comes to the AMD cards, and it's always like that. I do honestly think that that is planned just to kind of throw people off, to either discredit what AMD is doing, or to, you know, try to put AMD in a position to have to lower their prices or do this or something. There's just always something wrong when it comes to AMD, no matter what. Like, I mean, I guess you can already start by saying that, like, look, man, if they're not gonna come out and try to bring out a high-end GPU to fight with the 5080s and the 4090s and stuff like that, then obviously there's already something wrong. If they're really just going for a mid-range segment, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. Now, yes, I absolutely wanted to buy a new high-end AMD GPU this generation. I did. I was really hoping that we were going to get like a, what was it, like an 8900 XTX, but seeing as the naming scheme has changed, now we're in the 9000 series. Obviously they did that so that they could, you know, market the 9000 series CPUs with the 9000 series GPU. That doesn't seem out of touch or out of line for what AMD would do. It makes sense, whatever. On the Nvidia side though, you know, coming out with a 5070 at 12 gigabytes of VRAM, I do think that is very, I don't think that's very smart of Nvidia to do, but they are bringing out the 5070 Ti version that's going to have 16 gigs of VRAM. You're just going to have to make the best decision that you can based on, you know, what's going to be available at launch. Me personally, I kind of feel like 12 gigs is kind of a no starter at that $500 to $600 range. To me, that just doesn't seem very forward. That just doesn't seem very forward thinking. I mean, like, okay, say you're at 1440p, you're 1080p, 1440p, maybe even ultra wide. I just don't see 12 gigs as being sufficient for a lot of the newer stuff, especially when you're throwing in like ray tracing and all of these other things that you want. I just don't see 12 gigabytes as being a very good overall experience. And I don't know, man, like I didn't really have a whole lot of issues with the 4070 Super in terms of, you know, like the VRAM proposition and stuff. At least on a lot of the games that I was testing. So I'm not going to completely rule it out, but I do feel like as we start to go forward, I do feel like I would much rather have a larger pool of VRAM than not enough. And that's just my stance on it. That's you know, after buying a 3080 10 gig and then looking at like I did have VRAM issues with the 4070. I did. I mean, on certain games, but man, how do I say this, like, to not have the Nvidia bros freaking out on me? Look, guys, 12 gigabytes for that much. Let's just do it that way. Let's just do it that way. I think that if you're going to spend $500+ on a GPU, you should get 16 gigs of VRAM. Period. Anything less than 16 gigs of VRAM on a $500 GPU is unfair. We'll look at it that way. That way I don't have to listen to the Nvidia bros freaking out on me, telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. Look, the 16 gigs of VRAM is important for gaming. Like, you want to be able to, you get a brand new GPU, you plug it in, download your drivers, you want to play your games, you want to test it out, you want to push that bad boy, you want to see, man, let's just, what if? Let's try this on 4K. I mean, if you've got 16 gigs of VRAM, at least you get a try, right? At least you get a try. I don't like how Nvidia artificially locks you into specific ranges for specific games, and basically it's like they're gatekeepers, and I don't like that. I like the fact that AMD gives you that full ability to just, hey man, you want to try it? Like on my 7900 XTX, they're like, you want to try 8K? Go ahead, try 8K, see how it works. So I try 8K, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, gosh dang, dude, I can't believe that shit actually runs. And it's at like 60 frames, and I'm like, wow, dude, that's pretty freaking sweet. Actually, I was getting threw on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm playing that game, and I'm checking it out, and I'm getting like 40 frames a second at 8K resolution. I'm like, dang, man, that's pretty decent. Like, I like that. I like that my card can do, you know, some of these games and stuff, you know, that like you're wanting to play around with, and I like that ability to be able to just try stuff. And so, like, I kind of feel like $500, you know, if we're being honest, $500 is still a little bit much for a GPU. Like no matter how you look at it, I mean, I feel like the average, you know, the average gamer that's out there, I mean, if you look at Steam hardware surveys and stuff, you're seeing a lot of gamers right around that 3060, that 4060, that lower price, that $200 to $350 GPUs range. That's where you're seeing a lot of gamers, because that's what a lot of gamers are buying right now. So when you start getting into $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, all the way up to $2,000 GPUs, you're starting to lose a significant portion of that overall affordability where most gamers are going to be at. And you know, $500. If you're a gamer that normally is in that $200 to $300 price range, and you look up and you see that $500 GPU, but this thing's got 16 gigs of RAM, it's got, you know, good enough ray tracing, it's got like everything you could possibly need that would easily outdo any of the GPUs that you ever had in a very long time, and put you in a spot to where you could comfortably feel like you could move forward for a while and have a solid gaming experience, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you know, 9 years, whatever. You get yourself into that type of a GPU, and you're still, you know, say like, hey man, I'm committed, 1080p is awesome, you know, 1440p maybe, you know, I mean, I want to have that, you know, that upgradability path, you know, maybe I get a better job in a little while, I'm making a little bit more money, I could put more away and I could get a better, you know what I mean? Like, I get that there's people out there that would love to be able to do that, but with these prices for these GPUs going so high, and just you know, they're putting all this stuff in there, for AMD to take a step back and be like, look man, we want to sell a GPU that can get out there to the mass market. The people that couldn't normally afford to do this are more likely, you know, to potentially want to try to save up money to get that level tier of GPU or something. You know, just it kind of bridges a gap between, you know, the people that, you know, don't really have that money to spend, but I don't know, it kind of gives them that feeling that like, okay, like if I upgrade to that, I'm gonna be set. Whereas with Nvidia, with a 5070, man, like 12 gigs of VRAM, I look at that and I'm like, dude, that's a non-starter, because here's the thing, you know, a 5070 is going to have enough power to be able to do, you know, that 1080p, that 1440p, all of that. The only limiting factor is gonna be the VRAM later down the road. Like, that's going to be your limiting factor and stuff. And, you know, like that's definitely going to be like, man, and plus, you know, this GPU is going to be like $650, $700 for an Nvidia GPU. So you're looking at that and you're just like, gosh dang, man, that is like a non-starter for me. Like, no. And then like obviously your 5070 Ti is going to be like $800, $900. And you're looking at that and you're just like, gosh dang, man. The amount of money that Nvidia expects you to spend on some of these GPUs is just madness. And so when you're looking at that, when you're looking at that and you're looking at like AMD, and then obviously if Intel brings out a Battle Mage with 24 gigs of VRAM and this thing's like $500-600, I think you could rewrite the overall like GPU market for gaming. And let's face it, like if you've got a 7900 XTX, you got a 4080, like these cards are good cards. They're like really high end. Like they're definitely more high end than anything you're going to get in that lower $500 tier range or $400 or $300 tier range. So if you're bringing that type of power to an affordable GPU, and I think this is where a lot of people don't really look at this from a wider point of view. They just look at it as like, oh man, they're getting rid of the high end. They're not doing that no more. It's just not going to be good. And this 100% depends on 9070 being 4080 power. Like this 100% depends on that. You bring that level of power to a $500 range, okay? Because we all know that's pretty potent, that's pretty powerful. You're playing a lot of games right now. A lot of the newer games that just came out are running very decently on that level of power. You bring that out. You throw a 16 gigs of VRAM on there. You put that in the 1440p market as like high-end 1440p market. Like most people that are budget gaming are 1080p 1440p still. So you put that segment as like your top end. You know, you're like, boom, that is pretty damn high end, my friends. That is pretty high end. And you look at that and you see that power base becomes like the new high end for actual PC gaming, because obviously these newer higher end cards, you know, like the 5090 and stuff are coming out, and these cards are clearly geared more for like that AMD or not AMD, but for the AI workflow. They're clearly designed for that workflow. So when you look at what we got right now and you bring that out and you just look at the mass the mass, you know, like gaming sphere out there, you know, and most people are, you know, at that budget range, at that, you know, that mid range, you know, you get an Intel GPU in there, you get a freaking AMD GPU in there that are going to compete for that market share. And I swear, dude, if Intel brings out 24 gigs at like, I mean, even matching, you know, like 9070, that could really damage, you know, like what AMD's doing, honestly. Like it could. You get 24 gigs, obviously that card is going to be decent. You're going to have good ray tracing performance on there. The B580 is actually doing pretty good right now. A lot of people are very, very positive about that, so I could definitely see that being a good thing. But then if you have Nvidia coming out with like 12 gigs of RAM and they're charging damn near double what the other two are going to do, I think we got ourselves a pretty good mid-range battle this generation of these three juggernauts that definitely could like rewrite the freaking landscape for GPUs in terms of like just being able to like play a game and have fun. Like I'm telling you guys, 7800 XT was enough power for me to literally like be okay, like PC gaming and stuff. So yeah, if 9070, you know, like what would it be, the B770, and then the obviously, you know, like the 4070 or 5070 from Nvidia, this could really definitely be like I think this could probably be one of the best mid-range generations for gamers in a very long time, to actually try to bring down the cost a little bit, to reset the market, you know, reset what's expected for a power, for that type of a power base. You know what I mean? Like that to me makes sense. Like AMD and Intel have the potential right now to come out and like reset what's going on, because Nvidia is clearly, you know, they've clearly muddied the waters with the 90 class cards. They've really muddied the waters to where nobody really knows exactly where the top end gaming meets ends and where the productivity actually is going forward from there. So if AMD, Intel, and clearly Nvidia, you know, come out, you know, I mean, obviously if Nvidia feels that their new neural rendering or texture compression or whatever is going to bridge the gap between physical 16 gigs of VRAM versus, you know, I guess what would we call it? What would we call it? Virtual RAM? Yeah, let's call it virtual RAM. If they really think that their new neural rendering, texture compression algorithm or whatever is going to be able to suffice gamers, I'm all for new tech. I am. And if Nvidia can pull it off to a point where it still makes sense to get a 4070 GPU, if we can get rid of the stutters, if we can get rid of the inconsistency with textures and stuff like that, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, you know. As long as we get a pretty consistent experience, you know, for like the mid-range, I'm okay with that. And then I would like to see Intel, AMD, Nvidia actually start competing for your money in a more like realistic way. Because right now, guys, like I get it, tech is moving fast, AI, all of that stuff. I really do think that these hardware manufacturers are really at a point where they just can't push hardware anymore, to where they are starting to have to rely heavily on upscaling, frame generation, all of these other, you know, software tricks to squeeze more out of these GPUs, which isn't a bad thing. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Our video games still look absolutely incredible. So I don't know, guys, like I'm excited for this next generation of GPUs, and I'm really excited to see how the mid-range, how things get reset. Like I'm actually kind of interested to see how the reset happens and see where we go from there. So, all right, guys, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.